you sometimes just feel burnt out and overwhelmed with everything you got to get done during the day? Does it feel like when you wake up in the morning each day, you're just hoping to survive from one day to the next, and like there's just this doom loop with no end in sight? Well, I want to let you in on a little secret. Your success is what's actually keeping you stuck in survival mode. Now, I know, it doesn't seem like what I just said makes sense. But I promise you, if you stick with me through this series, you're going to start to see how your former successes are keeping you chained to the past and keeping you stuck in survival mode. And as we go through this series, I'm going to give you the keys to unlock those chains of your former successes and begin to move beyond survival and finally start living a life of fulfillment and abundance. Are you ready? Welcome to Thrive Nation. Hey there, Thrive Nation family. If you're watching this video, I just want you to be aware that you're watching part of a 5-part series on the ways that your success can keep you stuck in survival mode. And so if you're coming in at the middle or anything like that, know that in the description down below, there's a link to the playlist that has all 5 parts of the series, and so you'll be able to go back and watch them in correct order. But you'll definitely want to watch. You don't have to watch them in order because they're going to be giving you great information, and you can watch them out of order. But if you want to watch all 5, click the link below. Without further ado, let's get to it. So welcome back, Thrive Nation family. Thanks for sticking with me. And in this video and in this series, we're going to be talking about how your success is holding you back. And I remember in my life what this felt like so vividly, because it was the first time that I had to realize that who I was keeping me from becoming who I was supposed to become. And I mean, I remember it like it was yesterday. This was what I like to call, I stole this phrase from John Mayer. This is what I like to call my quarter life crisis. And during this period of time, I had just graduated from college. From getting my master's degree. I had been teaching for about 6 years. I had been, a school improvement team coordinator. I was a basketball coach. I had just recently got married, had a daughter, and everything in my life was what it was supposed to be. I had been successful, right? I had graduated from a good school. I had 2 degrees. I had gone and got a master's degree, and then I was married. I was a respected person in my field and in my profession, but there was something that was nagging at me. There was something that I realized, and what I realized was, while I was good at what I did, for me to arrive at my dreams, for me to actually accomplish the things that I knew inside of me that I needed to accomplish, I still needed to be more. And here's the crazy part. In order to be that more that I needed to be, I had to change, or I had to go away from who I was. See, I was in school and I was on a track to becoming a superintendent, but I watched, when I was down in Memphis teaching in the schools, I watched a battle where the superintendent, who was uber qualified to do her job as far as X's and O's, was not as qualified in leading people and galvanizing people to her position. And I realized that her leadership deficiencies were largely responsible for her agenda not making it. And I realized in that moment, I saw that I needed to be a better leader, that I was not, the role that I was playing was not who I was, and it wasn't sufficient for who I was supposed to become. And that's when I realized, right, that I had to go on a different journey. Now, the problem with that was it was really difficult for me to move from that journey, because that meant I had to give up who I thought I was. I had to stop being a basketball coach. I had to stop being a teacher. I had to go back to the beginning and go to law school, and then go and become, and I went to law school. I went to become a Marine Corps officer, to learn to understand the system, to learn to understand how to lead people. But in each of those spaces, I was starting again from scratch. I was having to give up the prestige that I had earned, or so I thought. And in that space, I realized that I am not my role. Right? As I went through that journey, I came out on the other end, and what the realization that I had, that I want to give to you today, the key that you want to take from this video today, is that you are not your role. You are not what you do. You are so much more than that. And when I went and went through that journey, one of the things that I saw was that what the roles were that I had before informed who I became later, and made me that much more respected, that much more capable later. And so in this video, I'm going to give you a couple of keys for distinguishing between yourself and your role, so that you're not burdened and chained to your past successes as you go forward. So the first thing that you have to be able to do in order to release that chain of being, kind of bogged down and tied to your form of success, is that you have to be comfortable admitting that you're not fulfilled. I know one of the things that was such a struggle for me was just admitting that and being comfortable with that I wasn't happy and that that was okay. Like seeing the fact that what I needed to become, right, was not where I was not in alignment with what I needed to become. It was so difficult because I felt like I should be happy. I should be grateful. I should be comfortable where I was. But I knew that there was something in me that was calling me to more. So the first thing that you have to be comfortable doing, the first thing that you have to work with, is being true to yourself and understanding that you have this dream, this calling, this greatness in you that's calling out and yearning to express itself, and that is the reason why your past successes are not fulfilling you anymore, because they're not big enough, they're not expansive enough to hold what you're meant for. And that's okay. It's all right. And once you recognize that, it'll start the unlocking process so that you can begin growing into and manifesting the greatness within you. So the second key, and this one is a little bit even more difficult than the first, is that once you realize and once you're comfortable admitting to yourself that you're unfulfilled, you have to also admit to yourself that you're scared of change. And that's okay. That's normal. We as human beings have evolved to be very resistant to change because what we know is that the status quo is safe. You know how we know it? Because the status quo was the exact situation we were in a minute ago and it was safe. It was the exact situation we were in 5 minutes ago and it was safe. And for many of us, it's been the exact situation that we've been in for a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, and it's been safe. We have survived. And therefore, we know that staying right here doesn't pose us any danger. It's just that it's not fulfilling. But here's the thing that I want you to remember. Remember, you have greatness within you. Remember that you have a gift that only you can bring to the world. And therefore, while you're afraid of change, and that's normal, understand that you are going to have to embrace that change and go out onto that adventure so that you can truly become who you were destined to be. And so step 2 is, while you are afraid of change, embrace that and understand that fear and realize that your transformation is on the other side of that fear. So the final point is that you need to define what good looks like, because part of the huge fear of that unknown and part of the reason why we cling to that role that we know as our full identity is because we haven't decided what our identity needs to become. We haven't gone through the process of defining what does good look like? What am I striving for? What am I trying to be? Right? In my story, I realized that in order to be the type of impactful change agent that I felt called to be in my heart, in my soul, that would resonated with me, I knew that I had to be a better leader. I had to be the type of leader that could galvanize people, that could help people to see a vision and not just see it, not just be charismatic, but could help people to do the work to implement that vision. And so for me, I knew that I needed to go get leadership training to become that person. And once that got clarified in my mind, right? Once it got clarified that I needed to learn how to be a leader from the best, and once it also got clarified that I wanted to make sure that I understood the systems that I was trying to change, because as a teacher, I dealt with students who were always trying to change the system, but without understanding it. So without understanding what were the pros and cons of the system, so they were eager to tear stuff down, but not understanding how hard it was to build. Because I knew those two things were important to the person that I was going to become, I then was able to focus on what I needed to do next. And so what I needed to do next, I went to law school to learn the skills and the system that we were in. And then I went to the greatest leadership training academy in the world, the United States Marine Corps. And I went as an officer to be trained to lead Marines. Once you can define success and you know what it is that you're trying to do, then it takes away that fear that of change, because you know now where you're going. It's like when you go out into the on a trip, or you're getting ready to go driving, when you have a map, it makes it so much easier to take that trip versus when you're just trying to figure out where you're going. This is what defining success does for this journey. And it's the last key to unlocking the hold of your past successes on you, convincing you that you are your role. And it helps you to see that you are not your role. You are so much more than that. So in summary, the big takeaway for today is that you are not defined by your role. You have to realize that your role is designed and defined by you. It's about what your purpose is, and that role has to be in alignment with your purpose and your vision, not the other way around. You don't have to conform to your role. And so the three keys to kind of allowing you to shed that role as your defining factor, right? Number one, you have to admit that that role is not fulfilling, and that's okay. It may have been fulfilling for a time, and it's not fulfilling now. And that doesn't make you bad. It doesn't make you ungrateful. It doesn't mean that it was a mistake. It just means that it's not working now. The second thing that you have to do is you have to admit that you're afraid or scared of the change that's going to be necessary. It's okay to be scared. You don't have to be ashamed. It's normal. Change is different. Change is sometimes unsafe. And so that leads us to the third key, where you can make it safer, which is by defining where you're going. Once you can define where you're going and define what success looks like, now you can really get yourself focused on and excited about where you're going instead of lamenting where you're leaving from. And that allows you to focus on the reality that you are not your role. Your role does not define you. You are so much more than the roles that you play, and your roles must always be congruent with and in alignment with your vision and your purpose. So, in closing, I just want you all to know that there's a bright side on the end of this, right? Once I realized that I was not my role, it allowed for me to continue to grow, to continue to change. I've been a teacher, a basketball coach, a martial arts instructor, a salsa instructor, a Marine Corps officer, a lawyer, a company commander in the Marines, as well as a business owner and a serial entrepreneur and a business coach. In each of those roles, the role did not define who I was. I was able to bring me to the role. And what's even more important is I was able to bring those roles with me into the roles that I have now. They amplify what I do as I continue to grow. And so for your homework today, I want you to talk about what are the roles that you have that define you. Put those roles in the comments, and then I want you to think about how could you redefine the role in such a way that it's in alignment with your vision instead of having to redefine yourself to fit into the role and to allow the role to just keep you in survival mode. Put that in the comments. Let me know what you're thinking, what you're going through, and we'll address some of those things in our next series of videos. So also remember to click the like button and the subscription button if you feel like you're getting value from this video and from our videos and from the message that we put out, because that helps the algorithm figure out how to get this message to more people who are dealing with the same things that you're dealing with. So we really appreciate it if you help us get our message to more people. Like, comment, share, and all of the above. And also click the notification bell so that you can get notified as soon as we drop a video so you don't ever miss out. As always, remember that you have greatness within you and that you are here for a reason and a purpose. Therefore, you want to live every day like it's on purpose and in alignment with your purpose. So until next time, here's to you moving beyond survival and manifesting your greatness. Thanks again for joining us on this edition of Thrive Nation.